Hey guys, it is Evan Transu here with Bucks County Light Therapy and Functional Medicine Center, where we are putting the fun in functional medicine, or at least we're trying to. Today we're talking about acne. It's our favorite subject here because it's something I dealt with personally. It kind of ruins your life, and so I want to help people with that more than anything. However, we are a functional medicine place, so we're actually fortunate to be able to help almost any condition in a kind of non-specific fashion. So check out some of our other videos or posts on Instagram at Bucks County Light Therapy if you'd like to read more about that. Today, though, is about acne. And I have this kind of odd, almost creepy cartoon gentleman without eyes for some reason watching TV, it seems, which again is quite confusing. But the TV is older, and you're probably wondering, what the heck does this have to do with the title of the video that says a weird thing that could be contributing to your acne? I'll give you two hints. The first hint is this: it's not the TV itself per se, but it's something that is coming out of the TV. And the second hint is that our business is called Bucks County Light Therapy and Functional Medicine Center. So maybe that's getting some wheels turning for you. If it did, and hopefully it did, you get a golden star. The thing I wanted to share with you today is that artificial blue light could actually be contributing to your acne. And here's how. There was a study posted in the Journal of Dermatological Science, and it found that exposure to artificial blue light actually led to an increased production in sebum in human skin cells. So what is sebum? Sebum is something that gets secreted by our sebaceous glands. That was like a bunch of S's in there. Sebum gets secreted by our sebaceous glands. So that's the glands on our face, and there's other parts of our skin that has it as well. And sebum actually gets produced out of those things. Now, that's not inherently a bad thing at all, but excess production can be a nightmare for those of us prone to acne. As those pores get filled with the sebum, if they have bacteria in them or maybe dirt or whatever it might be, the sebum can actually clog the pore with the dirt, bacteria, or whatever it might be. And now, unfortunately for you and for me, we might get a breakout because of that. But for some people, excess sebum production is like a major culprit in their acne case. For myself, I remember having like disgustingly oily skin. And I'm not saying that in a judgmental way, by the way, if you're dealing with that. That's how I felt. I was like, why did I just take a shower 2 hours ago? And now my skin has this like shiny glow on it. It didn't make any sense to me. It was very embarrassing, and I felt very uncomfortable with it. So there's many reasons that you could have excess sebum production, and we can talk about the other ones at a different time. But today was blue light. That's what I wanted to focus on. So, if you are exposed to computers, if you're exposed to lights in your bathroom, if you're exposed to phones, if you're exposed to office lights or warehouse lights, you're getting exposed to artificial blue light, unfortunately. And that can lead to that increase in sebum production. And this might seem almost daunting at first because you say, well, wait a second. If I'm like most Americans or people around the world watching this, you might spend more time inside than you do outside. In fact, the studies actually show, I think it's like 93% of people, most people spend 93% of their time indoors, which is crazy. So if you're working at an office all day and then you drive home and you end up at your house and you got the windows closed, it turns dark because it's nighttime, and now you got the lights on, you're exposed to artificial blue light most of the time. And that could be a risk factor for increased sebum production, which could be contributing to your acne. Now, you might think, if you know anything about light, or maybe you don't, but I'll help you with this. If you start searching this stuff on Google, it might come up. You might say, well, wait a second. Blue light can actually be used in the treatment of acne, and blue light also is found in the sun. So, what's the big deal? Why does this matter? Two things here. So, one is there's different parts of the light spectrum. It's not something to really get into today, but you can have different wavelengths that are still part of blue. You can have different wavelengths that are still part of red, and each one has different benefits. So, don't want to get too confusing there, but basically what I'm trying to say is different parts of the blue wavelengths can do different things. Now, with that said, it's almost a pro and con thing, because even when you're using artificial blue light to treat acne, you still could be risking an increased sebum production if you're doing it by itself. But where the pros might outweigh the cons is that it's actually very antibacterial. So you're killing one side of it, but you might be making another side worse. So for some people, it could be super beneficial. Now, if you happen to ever be in person in Doylestown, Pennsylvania, and be at our business, because we work with people all over the country, but if you happen to be in person at our business, you might say, wait a second, Ev. You have blue light in some of your devices. Like you literally use blue light in your red light panels, specifically where the face is. Why are you doing that? That's the second part. So when you are in nature, blue light does exist. That is true. Actually, I'll show you a graphic here. Blue light does exist. That's true. But it's a little different because blue light is never isolated. It works synergistically with all these other different parts of the light spectrum. So, take daylight, for example. We got that in the top left corner. You see a ton of blue light, but look at how everything else mixes in together. Now, that's not just to be like pretty and colorful. When it mixes together, it turns out nature's designed perfectly. So it doesn't matter if you're of faith or not. If you like science, you can appreciate how perfectly designed nature is. It is absolutely a wonderful thing to look at. So red light, for example, actually works directly with blue light and can kind of make you get the best of both worlds. Some of the damaging sides of blue light can be negated with red light. So now you can get these antibacterial properties mixed in with anti-inflammatory properties. It's amazing. And that's why we have blue light in our studio, but we don't have blue light isolated. We have blue light with near infrared and red light panels. So you can't get the blue light at our studio without simultaneously getting the red and near infrared. It's a big difference. Then if we look at incandescence, ironically, I mean, these have been demonized throughout the years for not being energy efficient. But again, the irony is they're very low in blue light. So they would have been a little healthier from what we currently know in the science. Then you look at fluorescence and you see very sharp spikes that don't look anything like daylight. So, yes, these other things can do things for skin issues in a bad way, but we're not even going to worry about that today. What I'm most focused on is the cool white LED that's in the center there down below. And you can see this giant spike in blue light. So these are the types of lights that we're using quite frequently. Depending on where you go, you might use all of these to some degree, but very often we are using LEDs that have significantly disproportionate amounts of blue light in them that don't fluctuate throughout the day like daylight would. This was just kind of one way to measure daylight. If you looked at it throughout the day, it would be different. That white LED, that's going to be the same way all day and all night because it doesn't change because it's an artificial light, right? So if you work in an office where you're exposed to that, or you work in a warehouse when you're exposed where you're exposed to that, and then you go home and you start using the phones all day, or you stare at that like 1960s, 1970s TV that this gentleman here is staring at without his eyes. Yeah, you could be at a risk for this thing here, increased sebum production. So, what are some of the action steps then, and how can we avoid this? Well, one thing that we want to do, and this is especially something that people that work from home can take advantage of, is turning off as many artificial lights as possible. Right now, I have to do a video for you guys, or I choose to do a video, and I have my screen without a filter on, and I got this like I don't even know how to describe this light. It's like if you ever had photographs done, maybe for senior pictures or something when you were in high school. This is kind of what it would look like behind me. So that is crazy, crazy blue light. This is blue light. And the thing is, I'm going to have the light behind me off once we're done, and then I'm going to be filtering the computer screen. So I'm actually not sure if this will come up for you guys on the slides, but one thing that I use is called Iris. So I don't know if it just filtered that. Maybe you're like, Ev, that did nothing. If so, no worries. I'm going to put a link in the description for a program called Iris. I think it's like $14.99 one time for lifetime access. I'm not affiliated with these people. I'm not sponsored. I don't get anything for sharing it with you. So I just want you to know that because you can turn this filter on your computer and lower some of the blue light burden if you have to stare at one of these things all day. Similarly, on your phone, although this probably wouldn't be as big of a deal in terms of it like actually affecting your skin dramatically, you'll kind of notice here I actually have a bit of a tint on my phone. That is because I use what is supposed to be night shift on my phone all day long. Now, if I'm outside, you have to turn that off. But when I'm inside, I actually have that night filter on. And I say night with air quotes there because I don't think that's a night filter at all. I think it would have to be a much deeper red to be a night filter. This is actually only a daytime filter. So we could talk about this at a different time, but you'll actually see I have something already built in for the nighttime thing. So isn't YouTube great? I can be as nerdy as I want and pretend that someone actually cares and wants to see my little like 3-click red light thing as if that's the coolest thing in the world. It is amazing to me that I'm not single. So, yeah, you can do some things right there to filter these artificial lights. The other thing that you can do is try to work in a room where there is as much natural light as possible. So, I'm very lucky to have an office space in my house where I got these huge lights, huge windows behind the computer. So they let in a bunch of natural light. And then I have more windows over here. If you work in an office, you want to make sure to get outside as much as possible. And you know, it's funny. People say, well, I can't take breaks at work. Pretend this sounds hilarious, but this has actually worked with clients of ours before. Pretend that you picked up a smoking habit because they will let smokers take breaks all day long. It's kind of hilarious. So if they won't let you take a break, genuinely tell them that you are now a smoker and you're going to take your smoking break. Really, what you're doing is getting yourself exposed to that natural light outside. Is it perfect? No. Of course, you'd be outside all day if you could, but it's going to help you get a step in the right direction. So that's what you can do. You can filter the screens, turn off any excess artificial lights that you don't need and replace them with natural light. You don't want to live in the dark on a filtered computer screen in the middle of the day. That's not good for your circadian rhythm. But for your skin health, the best option would be to do something like that, but add in the windows so you actually have some natural light coming in. And then if you work in an office, make sure to get outside, actually go outside for your quote unquote smoking breaks so that you can get some support for your skin, even if you're in a working environment. We have many more tips coming along. I tried to make this as short and sweet as possible. And I really just wanted to bring this to your awareness because I guarantee most people who were like me or are like me and suffered with severe acne are not thinking about artificial blue light being a main contributing factor. So make sure to like this video if it helped you. Please subscribe to our channel if you'd like to see more tips like this. You can also follow us on Instagram. That'll be in the description below at Bucks County Light Therapy. We post a bunch of tips and tricks there as well. Have a great day and let us know what you'd like to see next. Thanks.